My parents sent pictures of their new house, surrounded by everyone except me. The caption read, "The family that stayed together." I didn't reply. Weeks later, they came over saying, "We need a bit of cash to finish the basement." I just said, "You built it without me. Finish it without me." My dad exploded. My mom went crazy. I was at work when the photo came in. Just a simple group shot. My parents, my two brothers, their wives, their kids. Everyone standing on the porch of this beautiful new house my parents had just finished building. They were smiling like they'd won the lottery. Matching shirts, confetti. My mom was even holding a ridiculous little chalkboard sign that said the family that stuck together. I wasn't in the photo. I wasn't even told they moved in. First, I thought maybe it was a mistake. Like maybe they just forgot to send the invite, or maybe the photo was old. But when I looked closer, I saw my youngest niece holding a balloon that said 2025. It was taken that week. And the way my brother stood there, arms slung over each other's shoulders like a beer commercial, it was clear I hadn't just been forgotten. I'd been cut out. I didn't respond. I didn't ask why. I didn't even tell my mom it was weird to send something like that. I just closed the photo and went back to work, my phone face down on my desk. That night, I showed it to my husband. He just stared at it, blinked, and said, "So, I guess we're not family anymore." Then he got up to put the dishes away. We didn't talk about it after that. What was there to say? A few weeks later, they showed up. My parents right on our front porch with a box of grocery store donuts like they were stopping by for brunch. We hadn't spoken since the photo. My dad came in first, casual like always, like nothing had happened. My mom followed behind him, smiling way too much. They sat down in our living room without asking. I just stood there waiting to hear whatever excuse they'd cooked up. They never gave one. My dad cleared his throat and said they were short on funds. They needed just a little bit of cash to finish the basement. He said it like it was a favor between family, like I should already have my checkbook in hand. I didn't say anything right away. They kept talking, describing how close the place was to being perfect, how all the kids had their own rooms, how they wanted to put in a home theater downstairs, how my brothers were already helping out with labor. My mom even joked that I could come watch a movie once it was all done. I just stared at her. Then I said, "You built it without me. Finish it without me." Silence. My dad's face turned red. He started shouting about how ungrateful I was, how they always helped me when I needed it, and now they were just asking for a little help in return. My mom looked like she was about to cry. She kept saying she didn't understand where this attitude was coming from. I didn't bother explaining. I just walked over and opened the door. They left, muttering the whole way out. But the second the door closed, I finally exhaled. My husband came out of the bedroom and said one thing. "You okay?" I nodded, but I wasn't because I kept thinking back to all the times I bailed them out. 2 years ago, they couldn't afford the down payment on the land for the new house. They didn't call my brothers. They called me. And I, like an idiot, asked my husband if we could loan them 20 grand. That was our money. Money we were saving for IVF for a car that didn't rattle like a tin can for just a little breathing room. He said yes because he trusted them. Because he thought they'd pay us back. They never did. Then came the heating system. Another 5,000. That was my personal savings. Scraped together over 2 years of extra shifts, canceled trips, no holidays, gone in one phone call. Every time they promised to repay it. Every time they smiled and thanked me like I just handed them a casserole. Now here they were again, donuts in hand like that photo didn't exist. Like we were all still one big happy family. But this time was different. This time I wasn't just going to let it slide. Later that night, my husband and I sat down with a glass of wine and went through every bank transfer, every check, every text thread. I pulled out the envelope where I'd written loan to parents and updated the total at the bottom. $25,000. I looked at it and said, "That's it. I want it back." He didn't argue. He just asked me one question. "Are you ready for what comes with that?" I was, because I knew exactly what came next. The morning after they stormed out of our house, I sent my parents a message. I kept it short, no fluff. "I've reviewed everything. You owe us $25,000. That's $20,000 from Daniel and $5,000 from me. Please let us know how and when you plan to return it." No response. I waited 3 days, then forwarded the exact same message. Still nothing. By the end of the week, my mom called, cheerful, like nothing had happened. She asked if we were doing okay and if we wanted to come by on Sunday to see the kids. I didn't say a word about the invite. I just repeated what I'd already written and asked if she got the message. She said yes, and then started going on about how they were just so busy with the house lately and things were a little tight right now. Said she didn't want this to become a big issue and that money is not worth ruining relationships. I said one thing, you're right. That's why you should return what you owe. She hung up. That weekend, Daniel and I met with a lawyer. I'd gathered every receipt, every Venmo transfer, every text thread where they promised to get it back to us next month. Even an old birthday card my mom had written when we gave them the second loan. We're so grateful for your help again. You two always come through. We'll repay it as soon as the tax refund hits. The lawyer didn't even blink. He just looked at the numbers and said, "You've got a case." We drafted the demand letter that day and sent it by certified mail, signature required. It arrived 2 days later. That's when everything started spinning. Why Dad didn't call me. He called Daniel and said I was being hysterical, that I was misremembering things, that the money wasn't missing. It was a gift from family, and we'd all agreed years ago not to keep track. Daniel said, "No, you said that." Deborah never agreed to it. Then he hung up. 4 days of silence. Then suddenly I got texts from my younger brother, Evan. He was furious, asking why I was threatening legal action. I asked what my parents told him. He said they claimed it was a few hundred I'd given them when they were struggling, and now I was trying to sue over it. Made me sound like a lunatic. So I sent Evan the receipts. Every dollar, screenshots, dates, names, transfers. He went quiet. Then he messaged, "They told me it was just $100 for groceries." What the hell? I said, "Yeah, what the hell indeed." Evan wasn't even mad after that, just confused, and then he dropped something that made my stomach twist. He said they'd borrowed money from Uncle Alan, too, supposedly to hold them over until spring. I called Uncle Alan. He's never been close with my parents, but he's sharp and not gullible. I told him what was happening. He wasn't surprised. He said he'd given them $15,000 last year when they claimed the builder walked off and they needed help finishing framing. He assumed they'd borrowed the rest from the bank. They hadn't. They were bleeding family dry, telling each of us a different story. Alan asked for proof. I emailed him everything. An hour later he called and said, "Let me handle it." I didn't ask what that meant. I trusted him. He doesn't do drama, but he doesn't let things slide. That week he showed up at their house. Whatever he said behind that closed door hit hard, because the next day my mom texted me for the first time in weeks. "Can we please talk about this?" 6 words, like it was a minor disagreement and not $25,000 of being used. I stared at the text, felt like it was bait, but told her they could come over with my dad. If they had anything real to say it to my face. They came the next day around 5. I left the door open and walked into the living room. Daniel was already on the couch. He didn't stand. My parents came in quiet, but not apologetic. My dad had that look he gets when he's pretending he's not furious. My mom smiled like she was arriving at a potluck. They sat down like they owned the place. Why Mom started. Of course, they were shocked I'd involve a lawyer, hurt and disappointed that family treats each other this way. She said they hadn't expected me to take it that far, that money's been tight, and they never meant to exclude me. I asked when she planned on mentioning the photo, the one with everyone but me. She looked confused. "Oh, that was just a casual shot we took when everyone was over," she said. "Everyone but me." My dad cut in and said enough with the guilt tripping. He wanted to know what I expected from them. He said they weren't made of money, that I shouldn't attack them for trying to build a life, that they raised me, and I should remember that. I said, "I'm not asking for anything extra, just what you already owe." He asked, "And what if we don't pay?" I didn't flinch. "Then you'll deal with court." I said. He stood up, raised his voice, called it disgusting that I'd turned on them, said I was being selfish and that Daniel was manipulating me. My mom begged him to calm down, but didn't stop him. She just kept saying we should find a way to work it out as a family. Daniel stood up, quiet and steady, looked at them both and said, "Deborah has done everything for you, and you've treated her like a team." They left. No hugs, no promises, just the door slammed, and they drove off. We waited a week. Nothing. No messages, no payment plan, not even a fake apology. Then Evan texted, "Why are Mom and Dad saying you're suing them over gas money?" I laughed and sent him the full list, bank statements, transfers, messages, everything, and the total, $25,000. He didn't reply for 2 hours. When he did, he wrote, They told me it was about $200 for groceries. $200. I called Uncle Alan next. He already knew. He said my dad had come by 2 nights earlier trying to borrow money again, asking for breathing room because I was suing them. Alan asked, "Is it true?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Is it good?" Then, as I was about to answer, he said he'd given them $15,000 a year earlier and wouldn't play dumb anymore. I sent him every piece of proof. He told me not to worry. If they try anything else, I'll ruin them before court does. 2 days later we filed. No more warnings. Our lawyers submitted the lawsuit and confirmed it was officially in motion. By the end of the week, they'd been served. And that's when the family circus began. My parents went on a full-blown PR tour, calling everyone, aunts, cousins, family friends, saying I was having a breakdown, that Daniel was manipulating me, that I was unstable and making things up. But they didn't expect people to ask for proof. Evan sent the screenshots. So did Uncle Alan. Soon, cousins started connecting the dots. This wasn't new. My parents had done similar things before, just on a smaller scale. Then, in panic mode, they went back to Alan asking for money. He said, "You want me to fund your defense in a lawsuit your daughter filed because you stole from her?" They didn't even blink. He laughed and later told me, "They're not just broke, Deborah. They're shameless, and that's worse." After Alan turned them down publicly, everything went quiet. No calls, no texts. Even the family group chat died. Daniel and I figured they were regrouping, maybe hoping we'd back off before court. We didn't. We filed the formal claim. 30 days to respond. On day 12, Daniel's boss called him in. Someone had emailed the company claiming he was under investigation for fraud. Luckily, his boss gave him a chance to explain and didn't believe it. But we knew who was behind it. Then a fake Facebook account appeared using my name, messaging people that Daniel was controlling me. It even reached one of my coworkers. We reported it, took screenshots, and gave everything to our lawyer. He said, "This helps your case. Keep documenting." Meanwhile, Alan called them over again and recorded it. They said they deserved the money because they'd raised 3 kids with nothing that their children owed them. My mom said she wouldn't have anything if not for us. Alan told them, "Deborah's house is in her name, not yours." My dad slipped up, admitting he'd moved the money to a different account before things got messy. That was proof he'd hidden assets. Our lawyer was thrilled and filed an emergency disclosure request. After that, they panicked. Multiple calls, texts, guilt trips. We ignored them. Then my dad showed up at my work pretending to talk things out. Security had to escort him out. Later, Alan called laughing. "Guess who just asked me for a $10,000 loan to fix family tensions?" he said. I didn't even have to guess. He told them, "Pay Deborah first, then we'll talk. With interest." A few days later, they showed up again. No warning, no apology, just their truck in our driveway, like nothing had happened. Daniel saw them through the window and didn't say a word. My dad knocked. My parents showed up at my door, Mom holding a folder like it was business, not begging. She said they needed help finishing their basement, just a few thousand more. I told her, "You built it without me. Finish it without me." Dad exploded, yelling about how ungrateful I was. Daniel stood beside me, calm, and said, "She still has a heart. She just stopped using it as an ATM." They left furious, and days later we got their lawsuit response, calling everything a misunderstanding. Our lawyer crushed them with evidence, including a recording of Dad admitting he hid money. The judge froze 2 of their accounts, and their contractor quit, leaving the basement half-finished. Desperate, they begged Alan to pay us $25,000 so we dropped the case. Alan agreed, but told me later, "They're about to find out owing me is worse." The settlement came through. We didn't celebrate, just sat together in quiet relief. Then Mom started posting vague quotes on Facebook, playing the victim. They missed payments to Alan, tried blaming everyone, even attempted to refinance, but no one would help. They sold furniture and old things online. Alan once called laughing. He'd seen Dad using coupons at the hardware store. Now their basement is a wreck, exposed pipes, uneven floors, a perfect symbol of everything they built on lies. Daniel and I used the money to start a small savings account and plan a quiet trip. When people ask if I'm close with my family, I just say yes, and look at Daniel. Because we are. The rest can live with their unfinished basement.